Outcasts, Singularity, Part 2. Jossie woke up to some man yelling for help. She opened the door. "What's going on out there?" "I need help. There are kobolds in the dungeon." "Who are you? And what dungeon?" "I'm the priest. The temple dungeon." "What are kobolds? Are they some kind of vermin?" "I wish. Kobolds are the size of halflings, like humanoid dragons." "I'm weaponless. Please, do you know how to fight?" "Yes, I'm a monk." Jossie grabbed her sword and followed the priest across the street to the temple. She pulled back her hood once they got inside. "Oh my, you're a Gith. You'll scare everyone. I was raised by Githsari monks." "But you're not Githsari." "Do you want my help or not? Now where's this dungeon?" "Down those stairs. No one enters the dungeon anymore. It hasn't been used in decades. I kept hearing talking, but I couldn't understand it. That's when I realized it was coming from the dungeon. So when I went to investigate, I saw one." "How big is your dungeon?" "I don't know how far it goes. Some say it leads outside the city. If that's true, there could be a lot down there." She left him there and went down below. She walked down the stairs into the darkness. She took off her backpack and pulled out a torch. Then she reached into her tinderbox and lit the torch to see. She put her backpack back on and picked up the torch. There are many directions to choose from. She could see in the dark without the torch, but if these creatures happened to be a dark color, they could hide from her. She listened carefully and could hear something speaking Draconic, the dragon tongue. Spellcasters use the language of Draconic for spellcasting. It was hard to tell where it was coming from because of the echo. She turned right and heard a noise come from her left. She went straight to the wall and slid down along the wall up to the doorway. Inside, she could see two kobolds. They saw the light from her torch and stopped talking and just stared at her. She threw the torch at them and jumped out of the way when they each threw a javelin at her. She dodged the one and deflected the other with her sword. Then they ran up on her. She kicked one in the face and swung her sword, cutting the other under the chin. Blood sprayed on the other kobold as his partner's head was hanging sideways off his neck, partially attached. He hesitated in shock long enough for Jossie to grab him and stab him, and they both fell over dead. The old grab and stab. I don't know if that explains it, but that's the only map I have. So there's another map. At the end of the room was a passage. She picked up her torch and moved down to another room with a box. She opened the box, and inside was a ring, a wand, and a buckler. She put the buckler on her left forearm. It was a small wooden shield. Then she picked up the ring. Inside was an inscription. It said, "Protection." She put it on her left hand. The wand was inscribed with "Magic Missile." She turned around and went back the way she came. She turned right, went down a passage with a dead body on the ground. She searched the body and found a rod inscribed with "Alertness." She held it, and it emitted a bright light for about 60 feet, and then dim light for another 60 feet. There was a stairway leading down. "I'll come back to this after I clear this level," she said, and went back to the stairwell for the temple. She went right and zigzagged to another room. An elf lay there. He had about 50 gold coins, or 500. He was wearing red slippers with black web designs on them. Jossie put them on her feet. They were light and quite comfy. He had also had a bottle that said "healing" on it. She put it in her pouch. She made her way back to the stairwell and followed the wall down the corridor. It led to a split hallway. She went left. Inside was something she'd never seen before. It was wearing armor made from animal hide. It also had a shield bigger than hers. He carried a morning star and a javelin. The rod of alertness radiated that it was evil. She pulled out the wand of magic missiles and whipped it down at the creature. 3 small spheres of light came out and raced toward him and hit him in the face. He howled loudly. He threw his javelin at her, but she blocked it with her buckler. She picked up the javelin and threw it back at him. It stuck in his chest. He pulled it out and ran after her, swinging his morning star, which was like a ball of iron spikes on a wooden axe handle. She pulled out her sword blocked it with her buckler, and swung her sword, cutting off its head. Then she heard running footsteps. The rod was warning of her danger. She pulled out her wand, shook it twice, and 6 spheres of light shot out and went around the corner. She followed, and another one of those creatures was on the ground. She stuck it with her sword. On her way back, she realized she'd missed a quarter. She found a body, then another, then a box. Inside was a hooded cloak like hers, but the interior was designed like bat wings. She took hers off and put it on. There were 3 rings in the box, inscribed with regeneration, vision, and resistance. She put them all on. She saw 2 kobolds. The slippers were quiet. She put one foot on the wall and then the other. She walked up the wall and onto the ceiling. She looked down at the kobolds as she walked overhead. 2 others were far away, chatting. They were guarding a box. "The master will return. We must prepare." "Who is the master?" said Jossie. "Who's there?" "I don't see anyone." "Who is the master?" said Jossie. "Show yourself." "I'm a spider. You can't see me." "Who is the master?" said Jossie. "The black dragon. They thought they'd slain him, but he's returned." "What's in the box?" "It belongs to the master." "Not anymore." She shot 6 spheres of the magic missile wand at each kobold, and they both died. She walked down to the floor and opened the box. Inside was a crystal orb about 10 inches in diameter. "Maybe Sandra knows what this is." She felt for the other 3 bodies and found more wands. Then she returned to the surface. She also found a staff. "Priest, they're all dead." "Thank you. Here are 10 gold coins." She went to her room and put the gold away. Someone knocked on her door. "Yes?" "I heard what you did for the priest. Please, come have dinner with us tonight," said Mrs. Marcus. "I will. I have to stop by the bookshop first." "Okay, we'll be waiting." She cleaned up and went to see Sandra. "You're back early," said Sandra. "Yes, I found some items in the temple dungeon, and I thought you'd be able to tell me what they are." "I heard the priest babbling about kobolds. So you went into the dungeon by yourself?" "Yes, I used this wand." "I see. Oh, I used this wand up." She used all the charges from it. "I can recharge that for you." "Thanks. But this is why I really came to see you." "Oh my, do you know what this is?" 2 kobolds said it was for their master, the black dragon." "Yes, probably. This is a dragon orb. Ages past, elves and humans waged a terrible war against a group of evil dragons. When the world seemed doomed, the wizards forged 5 orbs of dragonkind to help them defeat the dragons with powerful magic. This orb contains the essence of an evil dragon. You can peer into it and speak the command word to control it. It has 7 charges to cast Cure Wounds, which is a 5th level spell. Also, Daylight, Death Ward, and Scrying. Your spellbook will explain what these spells do. It automatically casts Detect Magic. You can also send a telepathic call to lure a hostile dragon to you for up to 40 miles away. While this is in your possession, you can't be charmed or frightened by any creature. You can also cast any 1st level spell one time, but once you're attuned to it, you will gain 20 pounds and take a sizable amount of psychic damage, costing you about 2/3 of your health. "Thanks, I think. I'll return tomorrow." "That was wonderful what you did for the priest," said Mrs. Marcus. "Well, someone had to. I'd been trained my whole life to fight. I thought I might as well put it to good use. But there are still more down there. We need to go back with some soldiers or something. There's also a stairway that leads further down," said Jossie. "Well, tomorrow before you leave, you can come with me to see Randolph so we can finish what you started." That night she laid down to rest. So many things were happening so fast. The next morning Jossie ate breakfast. Then she and Mrs. Marcus headed to the castle to talk to Randolph about the dungeon. "I can send a team of 6 knights down there, but since you know your way around, I'd like it if you could lead them," said Randolph. "What time?" "They'll be ready after lunch." She went and told Sandra what was about to happen. "You'll need your quiver then." "It looks the same to me." "Yes, but magically it's different. The short compartment holds 60 arrows. The mid-sized compartment holds 18 javelins. The longest can hold your bow, staff, and sword plus 3 more. So all your weapons can be hidden from view." "But how?" "Magic. By the way, the cloak you're wearing makes you invisible and gives you the ability to jump 3 times as high and farther than normal. And if you spread it out while in the air, you can fly at the speed of 60 feet. Now, this is my promise. of a horse. In other words, you can fly twice as fast as you can walk. A robe? Yes. See all these patches? You peel one off as you need it and throw it to the ground, and it becomes that object. I'll see you when we return. Randolph took Jossie to the barracks where she met 6 knights: Edmund, Raleigh, Henry, John, Alfred, and Royal. They geared up and followed Jossie into the dungeon. Each one had a plate armor, a great sword, and a heavy crossbow. Knights are warriors who pledge service to rulers, religious orders, and noble causes. A knight's alignment determines to the extent to which a pledge is honored, whether undertaking a quest of patrolling a realm or a knight often travels with an entourage. That includes the squires, hirelings that are commoners. All 7 walked into the dungeon. To the left there are 2 here. Behind this wall are 3. Down the next quarter are 2. All the way down to the left there is 1 and 2. Meet back here when you're finished, then we'll all go down a level, said Jossie. How do you know there are 2 behind this wall, and 2 over there, said John. 3 behind this wall, she said. She's been here before, you dolt. She probably mapped out the whole dungeon, said Raleigh. I want a map, said Royal. Jossie held up her hands. See these rings? I found them in this dungeon. This one gives me the ability to see through the solid matter. You must be joking, right? Said John. Here, try it on and you tell me, said Jossie. He pulls off his glove and puts on the ring. Holy cow! Now, give it back. Here, that's incredible. Okay, let's move out in pairs, said Edmund. Raleigh, you're with me. Henry, you go with John, and you 2 will take the room at the end of the hall. Let's go. Edmund pulled out his great sword when he saw the kobolds and slashed the first one and cut off its head. Raleigh did the same with the other. Henry and John laughed as they walked past them. This is going to be easy, said Henry. He saw the 3 kobolds Jossie mentioned. He pulled out his crossbow, strung up a bolt, and fired. He shot one in the face, killing it. John did the same, but his shot just grazed the kobold. The grazed one used a sling and rock and hit Henry, but it just bounced off his armor. Cling! Huh? That tickles, said Henry. The other kobold whipped a dagger at John, but hit the wall beside him. These guys suck, said John. Henry and John drew their swords and walked up to the kobolds. Henry cut off the first one's head. John went to kill his, but it sidestepped and John missed. What? You little dragon! The kobold pulled out a dagger, but Henry grabbed its wrist and cut off its head. Take that, you worm. By the way, kobolds are not dragons. They are humanoid creatures, but their heads resemble a dragon, and they are very small. Meanwhile, Alfred and Royal meet their first kobold alone. Alfred goes to punch him, but it ducks. Royal tries to grab it, but it slips past him. It pulls out a dagger, but their armor is too strong to penetrate and bounces off. Albert pulls out his sword and tries to cut off its head, but it ducks. Curse you, you slippery rat. Hee hee hee. I got him, said Royal, and cuts off his head from behind. They continue on for the last 2. As they round the corner, 2 rocks hit the wall beside their faces. They pull out their crossbows and fire, but it's dark and they miss. 2 more rocks whiz past. They walk up to the kobolds and draw their swords. The first one dodges Albert's attack. Royal hits his target in the back, slicing through him like turkey. The other one tries to stab Alfred, but Alfred blocks the stab. Alfred swings at the kobold, but it moves away into Royal's sword as it goes through his chest and out his spine. They all meet back in the stairwell. Everyone ready to move downstairs? Said Jossie. Let's go, said Edmund. That was easy, said John. Those devils are too slippery. It took us forever to kill them, said Alfred. That's because you suck. No, it was too dark to see. That's why they make torches. He's got us there, said Royal. Enough chit-chat, ladies. If they hear us coming, we'll be ambushed. We're trying to take them by surprise, remember? Said Edmund. They traveled about a block until they were under the castle. It smells weird down here, said Jossie. No one's been down here in ages. I'll take point, said Edmund. Jossie pulled out a rod of alertness. It radiated light for 120 feet. Well, there's the end of the quarter, said Jossie. I count 4 passages to the right. Does your rod detect any evil? Can you see any kobolds? Yes, the first room to the right, there are 3, but they aren't short like kobolds. Probably lizard folk. They worship dragons also. Well, I hope we don't run into any dragons. I suggest we don't split up this time, said Henry. All 7 went into the next room. They were lizard folk, all right. Jossie pulled out her long bow, strung up an arrow, and let go. The arrow hit one of their faces and shot out the back of its head and dug deep into the wall. What kind of arrow was that? Said Edmund. Adamantium, said Jossie. Nice. The other 2 lizards threw their javelins at Jossie. They ran at her. She deflected both javelins, sidestepped one, and grabbed him. Using its body, she pushed him into the other. Edmund had slashed one's arm. Henry finished him off. John attacked the other, but it blocked his sword with its turtle shield. Raleigh and Royal attacked him, but he dodged them and was hit in the arm. These guys were much tougher than the kobolds. Jossie pulled out her silver sword, reflecting the light. Whoa, said Royal. She cut the lizard in half. The room is clear, said Edmund. Finally, said John. They moved on to the next room. It was empty except for a box. Jossie opened it, and inside was an amulet. She put it on and joined the others in the next room. Let's split up. Raleigh, Henry, and I will take these 2. The rest of you move around the corner, said Edmund. Jossie joined in and cut the first one from head to toe. Henry cut off the other's head. John, Alfred, and Royal found 2 lizard shamans. The first one polymorphed into a crocodile and attacked John, but he jumped back at the last second. Royal attacked it, but its hide withstood his blows. So John pulled out his crossbow and tried to pierce its hide. He stuck 2 bolts in it, but it continued coming. Alfred tried the same thing. One bounced off and the other stuck. The croc jumped and bit John's shoulder. Royal came from the side and cut off its head. John tried the same tactic on the other shaman and killed him. Jossie and the others came around the corner. I can see a box beyond that wall to the south, said Jossie. They all walked and saw a deep pit in the floor. Jossie took a running start and jumped over it, but the chest was locked. She used a spell scroll for the spell knock from a rope of useful items. It opened the lock. Inside she found a book, the Tome of Understanding. She could feel air hitting her face from cracks around the wall. Wait a minute, there's a hidden door back there, she said. We can't jump with this armor on. Plus, there's no room. We need to check out first. All right, you go check out the other room. I'll check out this area. Once through the door, she was in a long hallway. She turned right, then right again, and up and found another fake wall. Inside that was another box. She opened it and found the Tome of Influence. On the opposite side of the room was another fake wall. She entrusted it and moved diagonal, then right through a secret door, and was in the first room with the 3 dead lizards they'd killed earlier. But to the right, through the wall, she could see a box. She continued on out the room, and to the right, along the wall, was a secret door. She entered at the end of the box. It was a box for the Tome of Clear Thoughts. She entered the secret door to the left and was in an empty room. She could hear fighting in the distance. She headed in that direction. While the knights fought, she went to the box. It was a huge chest. Inside was armor of invulnerability on a paper. It cast a spell on her when she touched it. She felt faster and more energized. She found she could cast an invisible hand at will. There were 4 more items inside. She put them all in her backpack. Jossie, take out that shaman. I think I'm getting the hang of this. She attacked him from behind with her sword and then hit him with 2 unarmed strikes, killing him. Great job, said Edmund. I know how to get to the other side. Follow me, she said, and led them into the first room. We've been in here, said John. She stepped over the dead lizards and opened the wall. I can't believe we missed it from the beginning. Straight ahead is 1 lizard, to the right are 3. We'll take out the first 3, said Edmund. They did, and recovered 2 more items. There's a passage here. It smells like poop, said Jossie. They must be how they're getting in, at least to the sewers. We've somehow got to block up the hole, but how? I know how, she said. She pulled a patch off her robe and it became an iron door, 10 by 10 feet. They blocked the hole with it. They left and took out the 1 and picked up the 7th item. There are 3 to the right and 2, a box down there to the left. They took them all out and found the 10th item. There's a tomb in there. Let's take out the rest of this side first. Then we'll deal with what's inside. They did and found an 11th item. Then they approached the tank, and it was really just a coffin. Are we sure we want to open it? Said John. No, but unless we do, we won't know what's inside, said Edmund. Jossie used up another spell scroll. It opened. Inside was a stone statue. I guess I don't understand. Why would you put a statue in a coffin? And a huge coffin at that, said John. Jossie reached down and touched it to see if it was really stone or some other material. When she did, its eyes opened and sat up. It got out of the coffin and just stood there. Who are you? Said Jossie. Protector of the royal family line. I obey only one of the royal family. Who is the royal family? It looked down at Jossie. Why, you, of course. What? Said John. A Gith? Must be some mistake, said Raleigh. No mistake, it said. Who created you? Said Jossie. The king of the castle. I protect all of his descendants. Well, this changes things, said Edmund. Until I unravel my mystery, I ask that you tell no one of this, said Jossie. We are your royal knights. We thought the royal family destroyed or murdered, but I don't understand why you're a Gith. But if you're a royalty, then we're here to serve you and not the council. I am a Gith, I believe, because someone cast a spell on me, but right now I can't prove it. Jossie and the knights continued to the other side of the dungeon. The stone golem followed her. There's a box on the other side of this wall, and one lizard. Another lizard on the other side of that wall, and two down there. The lizards ran at them and fought, but they were defeated. They opened the box and took both items. Now they have 12 items. There's 6 lizards in another coffin. I suggest y'all fight them off while I check out where this goes, and then I'll come back. Yes, Your Majesty. Quit. Jossie found 2 more items, 14. When she got back, all the lizards were dead. She used a small scroll to open the coffin. Inside was a dead person. Why would they guard him? Is he a relative? Maybe? Undead? Said Stony. Stony was the statue golem, stone golem. Whatever he was. Undead? What do you mean? Said John. The undead person got up and attacked John. Thanks to his armor, nothing happened as he tried to bite him. Upset, it threw John across the room. Crash! What the heck? Said Edmund. Undead, said Stony. We know. Attack him, said Jossie. The stone golem attacked it, but he couldn't seem to hurt it. Jossie, your sword, it's silver, and it's magic, said Edmund. Jossie caught its head off, but its body turned to ash. What was that thing? Talk to Sandra. She'll know. It felt so good to pull off that sweaty, sticky clothes. Mrs. Marcus let her use the bath house tub. It felt so good. I said that already, didn't I? After the bath, she ate supper. Randolph came by to talk to her. Stay another night and rest up before leaving tomorrow. Tonight you'll be recognized in front of the whole city, said Randolph. Did they tell him who I am? Recognized in front of the whole city? For what? For your bravery and leadership. What a relief. They didn't tell him. You always be welcomed and praised in this city. That night was the celebration, and every citizen praised Jossie the Githyanki monk. Knights and soldiers were stationed in both dungeons from then on. She stayed one more week on behalf of the people's request. She used that time to consume the 3 tomes and meet the people and children. The night before she left, she went to Sandra's and ate with her. They visited for many hours. A vampire spawn? She said. Yes. But that means there is a vampire master still alive somewhere nearby. Yes. Should I stay and help? No, you need to find your family. After that, then come by. Edmund also told me about the stone golem. Yeah, that thing is pure magic. And about why he obeys you. The king must have been a wizard or was close to one. But if my grandpa made him, where is he? Where are my parents? Very puzzling. I have a friend. She might be able to tell you. She lives in one of the towns between here and Eastgate. Also, there's an old wizard named Thomas. She is seeing that she is seeing that lives in Eastgate. He may know also. Just ask around for Catherine Zim. I want to show you all that I found. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Do you know what it all does? I have no idea. So she found animated armor, rod of resurrection, rod of security, rope of climbing, ring of animal influence, genie lamp, ring of earth elemental, fire elemental, air, water, horn of Valhalla, horses of Zephyr, ion armored suit, and deck of many things. Sandra explained it all and said her goodbyes. The next morning she got up and ate breakfast, said her goodbyes, and headed out to the city. She threw a patch from a rope to the ground and it sprang up a horse with saddlebags. She put all her things in them and climbed on and headed east. During the journey she passed through a forest. A pack of 5 bulls came racing toward her horse. Her horse started running while she turned around backwards and pulls out her wand of fireballs. It casts one fireball and explodes and sets the whole pack on fire, burning their fur and skin. The heat is so hot that it melts their muscles and bones. She turned back around and enters the next town. She rides on through, onto the next village, and into more forest. She could hear the most wonderful, beautiful music. She looked up and saw the strangest sight. 6 women with wings flew overhead. Jossie stopped and tied her horse to a tree. Then she cast darkness on the horse. The horse couldn't see anything, and no one could see the horse. She pulled out the orb of dragonkind to attune to it because it helped resist being charmed. She spoke the command word, "Red." It grew bright. Then she felt sluggish and weak. She had gained about 20 pounds in fat. She was weak, but not too bad due to a ring of resistance. She only took half the psychic damage. Now she was protected from the music. She took her staff of healing that Sandra gave her and cured herself. Jossie jumps up the smallest tree and waits for someone to circle back. The horse is whining and trying to get loose. Okay, I just lost my place. Okay, the harpies hear it and are trying to find it as they pass by again. Jossie uses her cloak to fly behind them. She pulls out her wand of lightning and hits all of them. It causes them to shriek and scatter. They group up and come after her. She pulls out the wand of fireballs. She misses, but still explodes. They freak out and scatter below among the tree branches, trying to hide. Jossie pulls out her wand of magic missiles. She hits 5 of the 6. All 5 hit the ground. She lands beside them and kills them with her sword. Her rod of alertness warns her of the incoming harpy. It tries to slash her with its claws, but she's immune to slashing for the next 6 minutes due to the orb. The harpy tries to charm Jossie with her song. Jossie pulls out her bow and shoots it in the throat, killing her. She takes the hour, breaks the darkness spell, and gets on her horse. Each day, Jake has been going to the village to wait for Jossie. She hasn't spoken to him in his dreams, and he's worried that something bad has happened. His mom and pa think he's lost it, but today she sees a stranger on a horse. Could it be? He'd never seen a Gith before, but the impressions on the faces of the villagers lets them know it's her. He runs out to the front of the horse, which freaks out, but Jossie calms it down. The village people are waiting for the fight, but a surprise when the Gith gets off the horse and gives Jake a hug. A Gith Yankee hugging an ogre? What's the world coming to? You finally made it. I was worried, said Jake. Well, there were a lot of complications and many creatures to overcome on the way here. Was it orcs or maybe goblins? No, just 6 harpies and a pack of wolves. Harpies? Are you serious? Why would harpies be this far south? Normally they stick either to the coast or the dark woods on the edge of the Feywild. That's very unusual. That's not the half of it, but we'll talk about it later. Where's your farm? This way. Come on. There's the barn. We'll put your horse in there. Jake, is this the friend you told us was coming? Yes, Paul. I'm Elmer, and this is my wife, Elma. You're welcome to stay as long as you lend a hand in the garden. Sure, that works. Good. Jake's cleaned out the storeroom for you. It has a bed. I hope you like it, said Jake. Thank you. I'm sure I will. I'm glad you came. We have so much to talk about. We sure do. You have no idea.